Terrific Tuesday. We are back. Move the chains, audience. How are we doing? Stone Cold Stunner edition. That's what the Rams did to the Vikings last night. Bunch of ownage, clothesline, people's elbow, you name it. I've been hooked on WWE ever since. Let's go. However, and also I want to get into, I'll get to the game in 1 second, but I also want to talk about, there's some coaching news going on. Mike Vrabel, Mike McCarthy. I'll give you guys my spiel on that. But first, I wanted to start off with that game last night. Listen, as you guys know, I'm a Sam Darnold sycophant. I love Sammy. He's my guy. I've rooted for him since USC. But last night was ugly. And the last 2 weeks have been ugly for Sammy. And, he stunk it up against the Lions in that winner go home in Detroit 2 weeks ago. And then last night, he stunk it up again. And he just hung on the ball way too long last night. I had a fear going into that game last night, that Rams defensive line with Byron Young and Kobe Turner and, Fisk and Verse. I mean, Verse looks like Khalil Mack 2.0. Holy shit. The power, the speed, his relentlessness. I mean, it feels like I'm watching Khalil Mack 2.0 10 years ago. I mean, how he slipped to that 16th pick by the Rams is beyond me. One of the great steals of all time. I know the Rams last year going into that draft, just a little nugget, they were going to take Brock Bowers. Now, they were in that sweepstakes with the Raiders and that sort of thing. But luckily, we got Brock Bowers, and he's been a great player for us, and I think he's going to continue to be a great player. And the Rams got Jared Verse, so it worked out both ways. I will say, and Braden Fisk has been an absolute home run. I mean, the Rams do not miss on defensive picks. They miss on offensive picks. They do not miss on these defensive picks. They've been hitting them out of the park lately. We can go back a long time. But I want to stay on Minnesota. So, last night, Minnesota's offensive line was just getting worked last night. And I just feel like, and I love Sammy, and I like him a lot. But, man, Minnesota, you better be sold on J.J. McCarthy, that he's your guy moving forward. Because now you're in a dilemma. And, listen, there was a point in time, and I was on the minority going, you got to keep Sammy. Got to keep Sammy. Got to keep Sammy. And now I sit here and go, let him test the market. I mean, let him test it. If you franchise tag him, it's $30 million. That's what you're going to give him. Because at one point, you were going to give him $50 million, like a Mahomes, like those kind of guys. But after watching the last 2 weeks, you can't do it. There's no way you can do it. And I love Sam Darnold. I like the gamer. I like the kid he is. But I got to take the love out of it and focus strictly on playing right now. Because he has played like absolute dog shit the last 2 weeks. Missing receivers left and right. I mean, with the guys that they have, he should not miss. He hangs on the ball a lot. Long time last night. Because he's always big play hunting. He's a BPP. BPP. Big play passer. I always have acronyms for everything in life. And Minnesota has this kind of AAA offense, aerial assault attack offense, down the field shots. And last night, Sammy was trying to go, hanging on. And that rush was getting to him. And he didn't have time to make throws last night. And it was just a shame because Minnesota's had such a good year. And I've been listening to some memes today that, Vikings were a wild card team and they lost 4 games this year, got swept by the Lions and lost the Rams. That's happened sometimes in the season. So let's not make Sam Darnold the village idiot, okay? He's still a really good quarterback, but he's a backup at this point. And I like Sammy a lot. So Minnesota's got some tough things to do. I do think eventually they do move on from Sam Darnold. In my eyes, I just, because you see Kevin O'Connell's frustration, and I just feel like it's kind of time. Last couple weeks, you've kind of seen it. And sticking with Kevin O'Connell, and I've been hearing this all day today. Oh, he's James Harden. Oh, I get it. And I could make claims for that. But I want to flip the telescope. My thought of the Vikings franchise, how I've always said they've liked the Chargers, but shitty weather of the NFC, that reared its ugly head last night. Because when you least expect it, they slip on a banana peel. And I should know it because I've watched this movie my whole life with the Vikings. And they are well run. They've always had great players my entire life. But there's just something that always falls apart. And I also think they just had a hard time finding a quarterback. Now, they drafted Dante Culpepper, and that worked. He was great until the knees shot and everything else. And they got Brett Favre for that little bit, and they had a run, and then, they've tried. And I think with Sammy, it works. But, man, Minnesota, they just were a disadvantage last night. The offensive line, you got to upgrade that in the offseason if I'm the Vikings. And you got to upgrade the offensive line. It's just hard for me to picture Sam Darnold back in a Viking purple because I don't know what Kevin O'Connell does. I also think with Kevin O'Connell, I think he's a good coach, but he can't deliver right now. He's 0-2 in the playoffs. Come on, bro. Like, the first time around, you should have lost the Giants. You were at home and you did. I mean, what are we doing? And I also think, and I see this a lot in my life, and with athletes, certainly. I remember years ago, Colin Cowherd had this thing. And it was like Steph Curry. They were talking about Steph Curry. And, he's throwing his mouthpiece on the floor, on the court, and shitting like a dog. And you can't bang on him because he was so popular. He was really, really good. And he had a force field popularity. And you can't puncture for the force field. And Brett Favre had this where, it didn't matter if Brett Favre sent a picture of his dick to a Jets employee, threw 6 times, led the league in picks. I mean, I remember one year, he had 20 touchdowns, 29 picks. Look it up if you guys want to. Those are the stats. And I remember the Jets year 2020, 22, where it was like 22 touchdowns, 22 picks, 81 pass rating. That's true. But Brett Favre was so loved, and he played for the Packers, and he was so lovable, and he was a country boy. That's true. And I also have a feeling with Kevin O'Connell, I'm getting the same kind of thing, where it's, okay, yes, we know you're smart, and yes, we know you're great, but you got to deliver. Because this Minnesota team all year round, their staff was great. I loved their team. But, man, Sammy just shit on a banana peel last night. And that offensive line needs work. And I figured that would be a problem last night with that Ram defensive line against that shaky offensive line for Minnesota. And it was last night. So, Minnesota, to recap, they got a lot to work on. Got to figure out what we're going to do with Sammy. That's the number one thing you got to do. I know you drafted JJ. But I would probably draft JJ or play JJ, let Sammy walk, try and test it, and we'll see what happens there. I want to flip over to the Rams. Last night, early in that game, when it kicked off, I saw Stafford drive up and down the field. And what was more impressive was Sean McVay to Kevin O'Connell's school. That was like teacher, mentor, and Kevin O'Connell was mentor. Sean McVay was teacher because Sean McVay took that guy behind the woodshed and fucked him. I mean, it was insane last night. Sean McVay with extra prep, all this shit, and he got it done last night. And the one thing I'll say about the Rams, and Sean McVay gets a lot of credit because there's always like McVay, Shanahan, Kyle, Sean, and Matt LaFleur, Packers. And I could classify Mike or Kyle Shanahan and Matt LaFleur as run guys, right? Run game, play action, get the boots. Sean McVay wants to be more like Andy Reid, where it's just pass happy and run when we need to. But Sean McVay deserves credit because he's not a stubborn guy. He can adapt. He's an offensive coach, so he can change shit early on the fly. The offensive line, mismatch, shitty a couple years ago. It's really good now. He fixed it in the offseason. Andy Reid did the same thing with the Chiefs. But Sean McVay, at times during when I've watched, they want to throw it all the time. And I think that would be Sean McVay's go-to if the run game was fucking awful. But I'm watching Sean McVay now. This is a defensive-led team. They can run the ball. They're not dependent on anybody. And Kyle Shanahan, as good of a coach as he is, kind of overrated. We can argue that. But he has to have Christian McCaffrey, else that run game sucks. Now, he's put other running backs, and that's the system. But you go look at the record without Christian McCaffrey, he don't win. So I give credit to Sean McVay and this Rams team. They are elite. They're playing at the right time. Philadelphia better be coming because Philadelphia better be worried because I was thinking about this tonight coming home, and it's great to have you guys in. If they give Stafford time against that fearsome pass rush and that elite defensive line of Philadelphia, watch out because Rams can can slice and dice you from the pocket. You saw it in that first play of the game. Matt Stafford, in cut, Puka Nacua. Cooper Kupp still making plays. Kyron Williams. Higbee, the tight end. They got good weapons on the outside on the perimeter. You got your running game with Kyron Williams, Notre Damer guy. Let's go. And so I'm bought in on the Rams. And I just got to say this because Stafford has been one of my favorite quarterbacks I've ever seen. He's underrated. He's tough as shit. I mean, he's something. And I've said to my dad, I told him this last night when I'm watching it, and he couldn't believe I said this. Watching him sling that ball around, slinging the pill or whatever you call it, it is the most soothing thing I could watch all day. Yesterday. It was almost reminded me of when I went down in the combine and I made this argument. Watching Penix throw live was the single, like that tops it to me. But Stafford, like on a game, it's insane. His arm angles, him and Josh Allen, and maybe Mahomes when he was early. Not now because it's more ding and dunk and they got to kind of work within the confines. But man, I tell you, it is fun to watch. And he's tough as shit. He might get Hall of Fame votes. And what a salute. I mean, Matt Stafford, every Lions fan, and I talked to my buddy Derek Sullivan a couple weeks ago, is that you can't bang on him. You just can't. I can't pick on him. He gave everything he had to that Detroit City, and I just applaud him. And he's a great quarterback who is like Favre in this generation. I will admit that. But man, when he's on and he's clicking, excuse me, he is fun to watch. And this Rams team, Philadelphia, you're in for a treat because Rams are coming. They match you physicality-wise. This is going to be a heavyweight battle on this Sunday at 2 p.m. in Philadelphia, NBC. I cannot wait. So that's what my recap is. Minnesota got question marks at quarterback and got to figure out some offensive line stuff. Still a really good team. Kevin O'Connell, got to hold the brakes a little bit on this. We put him in this category. Pipe down, Ma. Let's see you win a playoff game, okay? And then the Rams, they're elite. They move on. So I want to touch on a couple coaching things today that I saw. So the Dallas Cowboys, the gift that keeps on giving. So they fired Mike McCarthy yesterday. Didn't love it. But I think Mike McCarthy, if he goes to Chicago or, New Orleans, I think that would be a good place. I just feel like New Orleans is just so weird to me because Mike McCarthy's been in big brands. He's been in Green Bay, Dallas. He goes to Chicago. That's a big brand. And I do think if he goes to Chicago, he can muscle flex on Jerry a little bit. And he can say, hey, I've taken every quarterback I've had. Brett Favre, stubborn old as shit. Got him the 13-3 NFC Championship game. Aaron Rodgers won a Super Bowl. Yeah, won a Super Bowl. Okay? And it didn't work out there near the end. We finally figured out Aaron Rodgers is weird and difficult and moody and prickly and a bunch of shit. One with Dak Prescott got the most out of him. Got MVP votes. Who the fuck thinks of that? Cooper Rush was effective. So, Mike McCarthy, we can bitch all day about him. This guy knows football. And he can coach quarterbacks and get the best out of them. And he's got a trophy. Like, this guy's not a bum. Okay? I would much rather have him than Tomlin right now. In my opinion. That's just, think what you want. But I think Chicago, if I'm them, get on the phone and call Mike McCarthy. Bring him. Because he knows that division, knows how it's wired. Maybe the Steelers, maybe Pittsburgh guy, maybe get some offensive ingenuity in there. But it's going to be fascinating. But this is the thing with Jerry, is that I didn't get why Jerry did it. But when the Cowboys suck ass on the field, but Jerry, I just sit there and shake my head if I'm a Cowboy fan. I want to strangle Jerry. Like Vince McMahon in the documentary with Bob Costas, choke him. Because it must drive you nuts as a Cowboy fan. Because it would for me. And I've made this argument. He's turning into Al Davis near the end with the Raiders. It's starting to see it. Weird, unpredictable. What the fuck are you doing? I mean, and I get, now I'm hearing that they're going to bring in Deion Sanders. Okay. But here's the deal with the Cowboys. If you become coach of the Cowboys, you have to deal with Jerry's ego. It's just the facts. He owns this shit. He runs it. He's a one-man show. So we got to see what happens. And I just think anybody that coaches the Cowboys, they're not going to feel empowered. Troy Aikman said it last night. Excuse me. Troy Aikman said it last night. I just think they have not had a coaching empowered guy since Jimmy Johnson. And we all know what happened. Typical guys, egos, whatever. Jerry just can't let shit go. He just couldn't accept that Jimmy was getting all the credit. So, I mean, listen, I feel bad for Mike McCarthy. I wouldn't have fired him. But it was time. I get it. You know, he won 12 games in a row, but couldn't go far in the playoffs. But I just think that Mike will probably go to the Chicago Bears. It'd be my guess. If that or New Orleans would be my guess. So the last one I want to touch on is Mike Vrabel. He got hired to New England. He's back in the Ring of Honor. He's coaching. And I think it's a good move. I really do. I was thinking about this today, and I was telling my dad this last night. I really believe that this is a good hire. New England, to me, is got a lot of things going right now. I think that they have a quarterback who's a superstar, could be the next Josh Allen or Herbert. You have $130 million in cap space. You have backup quarterback set in place. Nice defensive pieces. It's all there. And I was thinking about this tonight driving home. Is this division's kind of wide open now? It's Buffalo and it's New England. Because Miami's got their own set of fucking problems. Their own. And the Jets are just the Jets. So, next couple of years, watch out for New England because they could be in that. They could compete with Buffalo now. Because they got the quarterback. Their O-line needs to get better. I would draft it all in the offseason. Get it in free agency if you can. Get T. Higgins or some other receiver. But you got to be excited if you're a New England fan. I know Adam Black's a New England fan. And I'm with him. I think the Vrabel hire was solid. Drake May gets a coach that believes in him. And I also think I'm excited because Tom Curran, who I like, and I've heard him on Patrick, he's a Patriots guy. And they interviewed him. And after the job. And he was like, well, what staff are you going to bring in? So on and so forth. And he's going to bring great offensive pieces in. He's got to find GM. I don't know if it's John Robinson. I don't know. Is that the same guy who traded A.J. Brown? I know you're homies, but we'll see. So, just to cap it off, Mike McCarthy being gone, dumb, didn't get it. But this is Jerry. He's an idiot. He's Al Davis 2.0. Can't get out of his own fucking way. Like a lot of guys named Jerry in sports. Reinsdorf, Krause, and Jerry Jones. And Mike Vrabel getting hired by the Patriots, solid move. New England could be set to compete with Buffalo in that division for a long time. So that's all I want to touch on tonight. Stay tuned throughout the week. We got a lot more content coming, a lot of games, a lot of news, coaching stuff. Stay tuned throughout the week. I'm going to be sharing on my platforms. Hit the like, subscribe, share button. Adios. Talk to you guys soon. Have a great night.